Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
Yep, here is Jay, and I are the producer. Well, I used to say R because I was so big, but I weigh half of what I used to. So I guess I am the producer then instead of R, the producer. But welcome anyway. Doesn't Sean have a great voice for that kind of stuff? Well, in any case, welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET 1490, where we do contemplate retirement and how to best prepare for said retirement, and how to best stay successfully retired. So absolutely meet requirement needs. Top off your tank so you can make it all the way. And we never know how far all the way is. And can I have that book first? As Wade Pfau once said, he's been a repeat offender on this show, and from the College of Financial Planning and financial whatever that is, and a great advocate of reverse mortgages, but especially number one, an advocate of retirement. Let me just show you the newest book that just came out. Look at the size of this sucker. This is a great book. It goes into everything, whether it's emotional or financial or whatever, and you should get one. However, if you want one free of charge, just call into the station. And you can talk to me, but you don't have to. You can talk to Sean, and we will send one to you absolutely free if you're the first one that calls. Next week, maybe it'll be the second one that calls. But I want to make sure that you do know that even though you are giving your phone number, your address to send it to, because I'll send it directly to you from Amazon, I never make use of those things, your phone number, your email, unless you want me to. So do not have any fear of that. But remember, the future is now. And why is that? Because knowledge is power. And the phone number is 866-955-2233. And there it is. And if you're watching on video, what a treat. You don't see my face now. So again, theeducatedretirement.com is the website, or if you prefer, drheckham.com, DRHECM, no dot after DR. And Heckham, of course, is not a stomach condition, and it doesn't need you to take any Tums. It stands for Home Equity Reverse. Home Equity. Thank you. It's a big word for me. Home equity conversion mortgage. And as you know, I consider it a program more than a mortgage, but you treat it the way you want to treat it. Anyway, jump over to the website. There's lots of good stuff there. Some written by me. Most of it is not. It's not exactly generic either. It's just good information and lots of videos that you can watch one at a time or here and there. My day job is at the Loan Source. My NMLS number is 384565. My Department of Real Estate, which I've had for 423 years, that license, but I don't use it except to stay on top of what's going on. 792-630. And again, another thanks to Daryl McCants, who does recognize this show on all of his shows. The Southern California Business Report he shares with Yvette Walker, who's on our show every now and then. And he puts me on his advisory team along with Bill Morris of UCI. And the Southern California Business Report is on 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Don't forget, Grandpa, let Grandpa speak, 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, where he says his show is for the 50 plus. I say mine is for the 80 plus, but then again, we're all young at heart, right? And of course, 6 days a week, I believe, Ron Siegel, and I'm on his show at least once a month. And he's on at, I think, 6 o'clock Monday through Saturday. So Sean will chime in if I was
Monday through
miscorrect.
Friday.
Like I said, Monday through Friday. Thanks, Sean. So, again, if you want to call in, 951 922 3532, 951 922 3532. And remember, we have a joke section, or we try to at the end, so call in and tell a joke, if nothing else. What is today? It's National Hot Dog Day, September 10th, and that is today. And here you go. Now, what is it that you like on your hot dogs? Uh, I will do what is told. Well, I love onions, of course, chili, cheese. Uh, they say it's sacrilegious um, to put ketchup, but I do that too sometimes. After all, the very famous Chicago hot dog has tomatoes on it, and those tomatoes sometimes aren't as good as ketchup anyway. How many of you remember this? The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. I sure do. And there it is. And I think it's still rolling around, but it doesn't come in my neighborhood because it figures I'm too old. So, fond memories on that. So, how do we celebrate our favorite good eats? And spend the day eating hot dogs, of course. Maybe today you can try a style of hot dog you've never tried before. They become a prominent part of American culture, like baseball games, and they always seem to taste better at a baseball game. Nathan's hot dog eating contest, which kind of makes me sick, and of course the Wienermobile. There are even hot dog Halloween costumes for real dogs. Somehow that kind of bothers me in some ways. But so be it. Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest is an annual event held on July the 4th on Coney Island. The 2021 event was moved to a nearby Little League stadium due to COVID restrictions. And that event was won by Joey Jaws Chestnut. He beat his own record eating 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I don't even want to think about what that feels like the rest of the day, but it's estimated that Americans eat 20 million hot dogs a year, excuse me, about 70 per person each year. So, some hot dog jokes earlier in the show. What was the hot dog's name? Well, Frank. I won my 17th straight Halloween costume contest as a hot dog. I'm on a roll. And did you hear about the hot dog stand on the moon? Their hot dogs are out of this world. Boy. A hamburger and a hot dog walked into the bar. The bartender sees them both and said, "We don't serve food here." Okay, that's kind of corny. It'll work. How about, here's a really good story. What's that little one there? Oh, that comes for later. Okay, here's a human interest story. Man builds a dog train to take rescued dogs on adventures. For many people, retirement is a golden opportunity to finally pursue interests they never had time to fully explore. And on this show, we've talked many times about how staying busy is a big part of health. So, no different for 80-year-old Eugene Bostick from Texas. He began following a career as a train conductor for rescued stray dogs. He takes his homemade train to take rescued stray dogs out for rides around the neighborhood. Let me show you some really cool pictures. Now, how he keeps those dogs from jumping out, I don't know. Maybe he's got hot dogs in there for them to eat. But that is got to be cool. We got another picture, which just a little bit wider view. And there he is. He's got suspenders on, just like a rail train guy. And another one. Oh, this one's great. The passenger in this front seat has obviously run out of hot dogs. So there you go. And I think that's all we got for that. But he said, we live down on a dead-end street where me and my brother have a horse barn. People sometimes come by and dump dogs out here, leaving them to starve. So we started feeding them, letting them in, taking them to the vet to get spayed and neutered, and we made a place for them to live. Pretty cool. I always think back about the Jacques Tati film, My Uncle, where it starts and ends emotionally with stray dogs running around. Well, they're stray, but they pick up neighbors' dogs and they go out for the day and then they come back. But it's pretty warm-hearted. Over the years, they took in hundreds of abandoned dogs and gave them a place to live with enough food and care. He realized walking several dogs at one time is no easy feat. Suddenly, the idea hit him. He, being a good welder, took a plastic barrel with holes cut in it and then put wheels under them and tied them together. Just like that, it was all aboard Dog Train. The sound effects, please. Sound effects. Woof, woof. Okay. This happened once or twice a week. Bostock would take the dogs around the quiet streets close to his home. It's something the formerly unloved dogs have come to relish in their happy new lives. So, good for him. And National TV Dinner Day. And I've got this picture is kind of small, but I think most of you do remember TV dinners. I certainly do. And the little sections where they were different. Of course, they were made out of metal, so when microwaves came in, or aluminum or whatever, or as aluminium, as some people would say, Swanson was the big name. And, oh yeah, here's what we have these days. Here is Salisbury Steak. A rich brown gravy makes this savvy classic. So 5.5 minutes in your microwave. And here is meatloaf, classic meatloaf, not just any meatloaf. Our sweet and savory ketchup glaze brings it all together. Another 5.5 well-spent minutes. These have both come from Nestle with the name of Stouffer's on them. So,
couldn't find TV dinners.
yeah, well, that's the closest thing for TV dinners. I think there's some Hungry Man dinners that still have those sections in them. In 1953, Swanson and Sons changed the packaged meal business forever by introducing the TV dinner and modernizing the evening meal. At least they made it a lot easier for a lot of people. And back then, it was women making dinner. Now it's anybody. The first Swanson TV dinner consisted of a Thanksgiving meal of turkey, cornbread, dressing, peas, sweet potatoes, and to be heated in the oven for 25 minutes. Boy, that's a long time in today's lives. It was designed to serve a single human being's appetite. Originally, Swanson made the tray of aluminum and separated each food item into individual compartments. And when Swanson's first sold TV dinners, they priced them at 98 cents the first year. Production estimated at 5,000 dinners. To their surprise, Swanson far exceeded that amount. In the first year, they sold more than 10 million of them, 5,000 to 10 million. In 1960, I was wondering about that, dessert was added, a little compartment of cobbler. I remember that cobbler, and that was good. Brownie, not so much. That scorched the roofs of countless mouths, made their debut. In 1962, Swanson dropped the word dinner from the packaging as they felt it discouraged customers from eating the meals at various times of the day. Several years later, breakfast hit the market. The Smithsonian Institute inducted the original Swanson TV dinner tray into the American Museum or Museum of American History in 1986. So next to Benjamin Franklin's cane, Indiana Jones' hat, and Dorothy's ruby slippers lies an aluminum tray that once held a Salisbury steak, and I showed you a new incarnation of Salisbury steaks. So what do we do here on this channel? Well, on this show, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe that families and people need to be active, not reactive. So let's get into some history here. I've got a lot of things to go over. We've got some pretty interesting human interest stories that we promised you last week, including the rumors and the stories surrounding Dorothy Kilgallen and Marilyn Monroe, but we'll get to that probably right after the 4 o'clock break. Robert Wise was born on this day in 1914, and he earned his wings in 2005. Let me show you a picture before anything else. And Robert Earl Wise was an American film director, producer, and editor. And there he is as a younger lad. Okay. And here he is at work. Or pretending he's working, doesn't matter. And we have one more. I'm not sure. Oh, he has a film reel. And that's, I know who that is he's with. I can't remember a name right now. I can't remember my own name right now. But there he is. Look at those film canisters. And one last. This is Marlo Thomas.
No, Rita Moreno.
Like I said, Rita Moreno, right here. Well, I just watched a advertisement on TV about St. Jude's Hospital. Anyway, Rita Moreno, and this, of course, was from his endeavors in West Side Story. And I wonder what the new Spielberg West Side Story is. I guess the reason for it being is that new audiences want new things, but also apparently the movie did not follow the original Broadway play, and this one is going to. So Wise was born in Winchester, Indiana. His father was a meat packer, owned a meat market and grocery store. At 10 years old, he would work on Saturdays for his dad, and during the summer, he'd work all week as a youth. His favorite pastime was going to the movies. Yes, it was. So was mine. In high school, he wrote humor and sports columns for the school's newspaper and sought a career in journalism. Due to his family's poor financial situation during the Great Depression, he was unable to return to college or move to Hollywood to begin a film career or to start his career in that industry. His older brother had gone to Hollywood earlier and worked at RKO Pictures and found Robert a job in the shipping department, and eventually he became an editor. He gained experience and became more interested in editing rather than anything else. And after working on several films, he worked with Orson Welles. Both were 25 years old. It was Orson Welles' Citizen Kane when Wise was nominated for the Academy Award for Film Editing. And as we all know, Citizen Kane was shunned for whatever reasons we've talked about. During the filming of Kane, he became familiar with deep focus techniques. Later, using those skills on feature films he wound up directing. And of course, the cinematographer was Greg Toland, on one of the all-time greats. Worked with Orson Welles on those films. Robert Wise directed over 40 feature films and edited many. He won 2 Best Directing Academy Awards for West Side Story and The Sound of Music. He also received the Irving Thalberg Memorial Award, the D.W. Griffith Award, as well as National Medal of Arts Award. Here's a short list of films he was involved in. Citizen Kane, and of course I've shown these things before. Here is Bernard Herrmann's score in a record. And here is, I think I've shown you this before, Laserdisc, Criterion, I think, yeah. And what a great film this was and is, and still considered by many the best film ever made. And Robert Wise was the editor on there. Now, right after that, he edited the Magnificent Ambersons, which is also a great film. However, the studio didn't like it because I guess it was just too good, and he edited it down to a point where Orson Welles didn't like it, and that was kind of the end of their relationship. You can tell where it was edited. I mean, it's not even close. You can see it go from one kind of film stock to another, but you know what? So be it. That film was nominated for 9 Oscars and won for screenplay by Mank, or Herman J. Mankiewicz, and Welles starred Orson Welles, Joseph Cotten, Ruth Warwick, Agnes Moorehead, Everett Sloane. For many film critics, this is considered the greatest movie ever made, and for me, it kind of is there because in less than 2 hours, it feels like you've spent your whole life with these people. The Magnificent Ambersons was 1942, directed by Welles, edited by Wise, and Wise has long been smeared with the reputation of the one who destroyed the Magnificent Ambersons. But he seemed to have survived that, but I wish it hadn't happened, too. So it starred Agnes Moorehead, Joseph Cotten, and Baxter Ray Collins, film nominated for 4 Oscars, including Best Picture. Now, most of these people came to Hollywood from New York, from the Mercury Theater, Radio Theater, with Orson Welles. Now, he did Curse of the Cat People, 1944, starring Simone, Kent Smith, Tom Conway, and The Body Snatcher, 1945, starring Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Robert Clark, from The Man from Planet X. Now, those 2 films were produced by Val Lewton, and they're both in here. Val Lewton was a master of suspense, and he did some of the greatest psychological horror films without ever showing anything scary. He made you feel scary. And a lot of that had to do with the editing of Robert Wise. And A Man from Planet X, we've talked to about so many times. And Robert Clark, who later in life became a loan officer like myself. And we do have his autograph. Unfortunately, he has passed away since. We got this at the Orpheum Theater on Broadway in downtown LA. So the setup, now to me, the setup is one of the best films that Robert Wise did. And why is it? It's very short, and well, by short, it's still, I don't know, it's definitely over an hour. I can't find the exact time. But it starts at, like, say, 10 o'clock at night, and it goes on for an hour and a half, and it ends at 11:30 at night. In other words,
Real time.
It's real time. Editing is great, and I'm not sure if he did the editing on it. I'm going to doubt it. But produced screenplay, it doesn't say, it doesn't give credit, unfortunately. But there we go. Great film, highly recommended, starring Robert Ryan, George Tobias, and a film noir boxing film. Day the Earth Stood Still, which everybody thinks is wonderful. I have second thoughts. I think it's very well done. And we talked about why I don't think the premise last week, I think it was last week, so many people think it's better to leave this earth, so therefore telling them they will may or may not make that happen. But that starred Michael Rennie, Patricia Neal, Hugh Marlowe, and best quote is Klaatu Barada Nikto. So repeat after me. Klaatu Barada Nikto, which was screwed up quite a bit by our hero in Bruce Campbell, as he and his oldest went back into time, and he tried to get back into current time. It was basically the third in what's his name's Uh-huh.
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi's trilogy of
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Number 1, number 2, he did without big budget. They were great. Number 3 was also great, but it was big budget. He had been taken over, and luckily did a good job from the large studios. West Side Story, 1961, starring Natalie Wood, George Takeiras, Russ Tamblyn, nominated for 11 Academy Awards and won 10, including Best Picture and Director. And this is really good. The production is really good. It's got the, music at the beginning, the overture. It's got the exit music. And I'm sure you've all seen it. And we have here... this is
For a musical.
a music. This is, the musical record from
Theater production.
from the theater production, of course. Book by Arthur Lawrence, music by Leonard Bernstein, and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. And just to show you, I've got so many of these. Shelley Mann, this, that, whatever. This one just happens to be Andre Previn, when he was still doing jazz before he moved into classical conductor. But really nice. That was mobile fidelity. Very good. Okay. The Haunting, 1963, starring Julie Harris, Russ Tamblyn, Claire Bloom. This the oldie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Robert Wise production, The Haunting. I love this. This is the story of The Haunting of Hill House, which has made, I don't know how many different, what word am I looking for? Versions of it,
Yeah.
including the miniseries on Netflix about a year ago. There was a newer one. Did we have that to show? Oh, we have it back there. Okay.
Yeah, because it's
Now this
released
one-
also.
It's what, I'm sorry?
It's on this day as well.
Oh, on this day also. I guess it came out on this day. This was also very good. The special effects were much better, but the scare was not. The acting was good in both. Let me tell you, the original one, the sound effects, I remember the first time I saw it, I was an adult, an older adult, well, 30s. It scared the ever-loving crap out of me. I could say that because the guy that invented toilets, his name was Crapper, so that's an okay word. And this was also very good, but the first one scared the whatever out of me. Sound of Music, starring Julie Andrews, Christopher Plummer, 10 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and there she is. And should I sing The Hills Are Alive? Would you like me to do that? The Hills Are... No. Okay. Oh, there you go.
Sound of music.
All right, the Andromeda Strain. Now, for the Andromeda Strain starred Arthur Hill, Kate Reed, Phil nominated for 2 Oscars. A U.S. research satellite carrying a deadly extraterrestrial microbe crashes into a small town. Now, here is the laser disc of it, which I guess we all know. And I want to show you something really unusual, and that is the soundtrack. And this particular version of it there's the back of it. Okay, here's the front. This came out a couple years ago, and original electronic soundtrack composed by Gil Melle, M-E-L-L-E. And this is how it opens up like this. And the record is, there's some neat pictures in here. Let me take the record out first. Try to show you the pictures. I don't know whether that's going to show up or not, but I'm trying, okay? Now, here's the hype sticker. You know, us collectors, we keep hype stickers. Here's the record, and as you can see, it looks smaller than a 12-inch, but actually the outside points are, it's just that it's cut off on these other edges. And the groove section is just like any other 33, but it's pretty unusual, I would say. And
This was record store day.
was it a? Oh, it says the
Yeah.
hype sticker says it was a record store day release. We've talked about record store days in the past, so I won't get into that right now. Star Trek, the motion picture, 1979. And here is the music for that. Again, good film, and certainly kicked off the whole Star Trek, series. Robert Wise, to me, if there's anything that's a shortcoming, and this is just my opinion, is that his films are many times too long, except for the setup. And anyway, this was to me one of those films that was just too long. What do we got here? Ugh. This is the first 5 in the series. And I think that Robert Wise only did one of them.
The first one.
The first one. And Voyager, right? Or Voyager came back and became Voyager. And I mean, this was a television episode that was stretched into a film. Very, very good film, if I must. Little long, as I said, but so be it. Anyway, the film nominated for 3 Oscars. The first Star Trek feature film, 5 additional movies followed. I think 5 in total in that group. And then, of course, they're still going on today. J.J. Abrams and others. It did have a lot of the cast from television: William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan, Walter Koenig, George Takei, and Nicole Nichols, and I think she was the female personification of Voyager. Unfortunately, we have lost DeForest Kelley, and we've lost James Doohan, I believe, and of course, obviously, William Nimoy. William Shatner is 90 or so. Looks like he's 60, and I think we mentioned on one of the earlier shows, he was the original, Howdy Doody show in America. He was in Canada. There was a Howdy Doody look-alike show, and guess who was the host? That's right, William Shatner. What a career. Okay, so anyway, let me just remind you, if you want to call in for anything, 951-922-3532, 951-922-3532, and I'm going to take a little, I don't want to say the word break because Sean will break. I want to take a little detour from our nostalgia, and I'm coming back to it, so don't go away. But it's time to do another little rant on fact-checking. This time it's Dave Ramsey and his reverse mortgage claims. Now this time I have help. Last time I didn't. This time Harlan Acola published this article on August 30th, 2021. And so we get some help from that person. And I'm going to do some reading now, so if I sound like I'm in monotone, don't tell me, I always do. The federally insured reverse mortgage product, known as a home equity conversion mortgage, has been around for over 30 years. During many of those years, the most vocal critic of the product has been author and radio personality Dave Ramsey. Why is this important to this was a NASDAQ article, so readers, because Ramsey is one of the most listened to financial gurus on the planet, coming right after me. Many Ramsey listeners who would be ideal candidates for the product are aggressively steered away, as he repeatedly calls it a scam. This scam has been enjoyed by homeowners who overwhelmingly rate they are satisfied or highly satisfied with the results, and you can count me in on that. Nevertheless, many older Americans are being hurt by Dave Ramsey's continued misinformation and lack of knowledge about the product. For example, Ramsey and his writers at Ramsey Solutions have repeatedly scared older homeowners with the claim you'll likely owe more than your home is worth. Ramsey Solutions also claims that not only are reverse mortgages a black hole of fees, but your older loved ones could also end up owing more on their home than it's worth, or worse, losing their home altogether. Both of those statements conflict with federal law regarding reverse mortgages. My helper here has written, and very true. One of the first lessons a reverse mortgage prospect learns from the reverse mortgage specialist is that FHA guarantees this cannot happen. Let me repeat, guarantees this cannot happen. In fact, every reverse mortgage applicant is required to complete a HUD-approved counseling session where the non-recourse clause is covered. Let's be clear, every reverse mortgage in America is non-recourse, meaning neither the borrower nor the estate will owe more than the home is worth at the time the mortgage is due. Now, purchase money loans in California are also non-recourse, so don't forget that. Refinances are not, seconds, things like that are not. But in any case, one more thing is that if we do, well, I don't want to get into too much, get ahead of myself. But if we have another period like '08 where this could happen and your house is worth less, of course you want to hold on to it because everybody knows values are coming back. But let's say you pass away at that time and your children, they definitely want to have that house because they know prices are coming back. They have a whole year to cure this, and they never pay the loan amount if the loan amount is higher than the value of the home. In fact, they pay 95% at that time of the value and have a whole year to figure out how to do it, whether it's to sell it, purchase, refinance, whatever. A lot of times the children of age are 62 and older, and no problem with that. So let's understand leverage, because I take it that that our hero here, Dave Ramsey, understands leverage completely, but he doesn't want to tell you what he knows, because I think he's made a name for himself being contrary to any kind of debt, and that's what makes him famous. It's kind of like saying I was told once that Rush Limbaugh was a liberal, but he pretended to be a conservative because that was the niche that made him money. Well, I don't know that that's true, but I do know that it's true with Dave Ramsey, because he's not that stupid. Or is he? So the fundamental conflict between the reverse mortgage and Dave Ramsey in his overzealous hatred of debt, okay, I get it. But for the most part, you may agree, many people in this country are over-leveraged with credit card debt, and we know that it is dangerous. Mr. Ramsey recently claimed that on social media there's no such thing as good debt. Well, guess what? There is such a thing as good leverage, and that may be hiding as debt. I believe the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, of every Fortune 500 company would respectfully, maybe with respect, maybe not, but they would certainly disagree with Dave Ramsey, because their understanding of leverage is a lot different. Well, I think that Dave Ramsey understands it. He just doesn't want to tell you because he makes his money by telling you different things. And sorry, Dave, but you've been invited to this show, never did it. So many people I've talked to said they have invited Dave Ramsey to argue this point or discuss it, and he won't do it because he's afraid he'll be shown as wrong, and that is not good. So it's no different in the mortgage world. Ironically, Dave Ramsey is a paid lead provider for Churchill Mortgage. Nothing wrong with Churchill Mortgage that I know of, but he gets paid for giving them leads, and guess what? Those leads are sold debt. So, a well-respected mortgage firm had said, however, 100% of their business uses debt to achieve the dream of home ownership. Apparently, there is good debt that can be properly used. And in my book, the person that wrote this, Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, the Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement, is entitled Sex, Drugs, and Reverse Mortgages. Most of us would, I'll get back to who this person is in case you want to look that up. And I'll look that up and try to put it on next week's show. Most of us would completely agree that many things can be good and or evil depending on how they're used. So consider a retired homeowner with a home valued at $450,000 with no existing mortgage balance. She decides to use some of her equity to pay off $50,000 in medical debt and high interest rate consumer debt caused by unforeseen circumstances. Keep in mind the resulting HECM reversed balance is financed at 2% to 3%, and that's still the way it is, and has no required monthly principal and interest payment obligation. It also does not disrupt the homeowner's traditional retirement plan. In our view, that, and mine too, that is a proper use of home equity in retirement. Sadly, some Ramsey followers are so afraid of using the most powerful lever they own, home equity, that they may never be able to eliminate debt and withstand financial shocks on a fixed income. And boy, don't we talk about that a lot. So whether retirees will never discover the value of the reverse mortgage, acquisition indebtedness to increase their tax liability, avoid sequence of return risk, which we've talked about, especially with Phil Walker as our guest, or creating better Roth conversions if they listen to Ramsey's rants. When home equity is used as a substitute for withdrawal from retirement accounts, several financial planning researchers have proved that though equity may decrease over the net worth increases, which increase greater wealth while alive, and is instrumental in leaving a larger legacy for the next generation. Also, just as an aside, we've talked about this and done so on Ron Siegel's show, who does purport that if you leave all the money in your home equity, it's like burying that money in a coffee can in the backyard. But, you know, for the last 61 years, according to Ron, and, you know, we fact-checked this, the overall average increase in home values or appreciation has been 5.9%. When you get a reverse mortgage, you're starting out with, you know, about half of the amount of the home. So if the home is increasing, and I'm talking about all of California here, if the home is increasing at 5.9 and half of your equity or the value is increasing at 2 to 3%, well, I think you can do the math. Let's fact check some of Dave Ramsey's most harmful claims about reverse mortgages. And claim number one, over 100,000 reverse mortgages have failed, resulting in foreclosures and evictions. This is absolutely false. In this statement, Dave is parroting, probably want a cracker, information from a national publication. Yes, the aftermath of the housing meltdown 12 years ago were about 100,000 foreclosures that involved homeowners that had reverse mortgages. However, those foreclosures were not failures of the reverse mortgage. No, most were foreclosed. The foreclosures between 2008 and 2012, and most all of them were what we call in the business beneficial or neutral foreclosures from the borrower's perspective. By beneficial, I mean that more money was borrowed than the home sale could satisfy after the death of the last borrower. And again, remember how that really can't happen except in some short-term periods like this. This occurred in the years following the housing crash. The heirs naturally walked away from the underwater property. Boy, if that were a BMW, I bet they wouldn't walk away because it's worth less than what you owe the second you drive it off the lot. But the lender or HUD foreclosed on the vacant property to sell the home at a loss. So nobody lost anything. The borrowers had passed away. By neutral, I mean that foreclosure was a result of property tax default and not because the borrower had a reverse mortgage. As you know, if you don't pay your property taxes, you will lose your home, whether you have a traditional mortgage, as a reverse mortgage, or even no mortgage at all. So think about it. A reverse mortgage eliminates the required mortgage payment and gives the borrower cash. This does not make them more likely to default on their tax bill. Claim 2. This is from Dave Know-It-All Ramsey. If you die before you've sold your home, those you leave behind are stuck with two options. They can either pay off the full reverse mortgage, which we already know is not true if it's worth more than the home, and all the interest that piled up over the years, or surrender the house to the bank. That too is absolutely false. This statement is designed to create fear that the reverse mortgage will stick the heirs with a bill or cause them to lose the home. Fear does sell, let's face it, and Dave Ramsey is using fear to sell his brand, even though he's making good money by selling leads to another mortgage company. The U.S. Department of Housing and Development, or HUD as we call it, which is the regulator of the HECM, and the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, the insurer of the HECM product, allows heirs 6 months to sell the home and up to 2 90-day extensions. So that's 12 months or a year to sell the home or refinance it. This sale is a form of inheritance for the heirs, and Dave ignores this common and favorable option. So any and all of the available, or all of the, well, I'll say available equity after the sale or selling cost belongs only to the heirs, okay? Just like any other loan. And what about other things that the borrower may or may, if they were poor, maybe they don't have a whole lot, but they still had their house right till the end. If they have more money or money in the bank, the heirs are going to get all the money in the bank and all the investments because they didn't have to take those investments and make them smaller by paying things that the reverse mortgage could cover. So keep in mind, most heirs are content to sell the home and receive the remaining equity. When no equity remains, the heirs often fail to recognize that without the reverse mortgage paying for the costs of aging, the heirs would have been left with the bills the HECM paid. And that's, we've got medical, we've got so much else also. And I've checked with CPAs, and most agree that the heirs, when they pay it off, will have paid off the interest, and all that interest then will go to credit the new owners, and that would be one huge good thing when it comes to, you know, paying the taxes on taking over the property. So even if it's underwater, they have the potential for a tax deduction, but that is a discussion for a separate column. Yeah, but you know, I got into it a little bit. Look at, anyway, claim number 3, you won't qualify for a reverse mortgage as your home is worth more than a certain amount. That is false. Absolutely false, and only reflects something that someone who knows nothing, I mean nothing about reverse mortgages would say, unless he's going way out of his way to give you some kind of fear, and that Dave is the Messiah guy that will save you. No, Dave, you are the troublemaker that keeps people poor. This is nonsensical and underscores how little Dave knows about the HECM product. No lender has ever disqualified a borrower for a HECM because their appraisal came in higher than expected. Yes, HUD does establish HECM limits each year. However, when a home appraisal exceeds the HECM limit, this doesn't hurt the borrower at all, and they still qualify. Now, of course, we have the jumbos, so that's one more choice. For example, the HECM product in 2021 provides insurance to the lender of the home's value up to $822,375. This limit simply restricts the home value to $822,375 when calculating the proceeds. It's just part of the equation. For example, a borrower with a $1 million home who qualifies for proceeds of 60%, yeah, you can do that now because the rates are so low, and if you're older, anyway, will not qualify for $600,000 in principal. Rather, they will qualify for 60% of the 822 or 493. In essence, a borrower with a home value that exceeds 822,375 has simply maximized their initial principal limit for this product. That's all. And again, we have the jumbos that go way up above that. While we won't have time to cover each false claim in detail, here are some notable past statements from Dave Ramsey and Ramsey Non-Solutions that unfairly disparage the HECM product. And you will pay a hefty mortgage insurance premium that protects the lender, not you, against losses. False. Absolutely false, and I will get into that after we get back onto this subject. And we're just getting ready to take the 4 o'clock break for the news and other good things from KMET. But when we come back, we'll put this off till a little later. We'll have NASA Nellie, and we'll have the reports on Marilyn Monroe and Dorothy Kilgallen. Just kind of mix it up and have some good entertainment in the meantime. So relax, listen to the news, a couple of ads, and I'll be back in no time. Bye-bye.